Whether you visit our many historic sites, explore our thousands of acres of parks, launch a business, or study at one of our acclaimed universities, you'll agree Mercer County has it all. Mercer County, picture yourself here. Mercer County Executive Brian Hughes and the Board of Commissions are proud to sponsor Mercer Local Influencers.
Presenting Mercer Local Influencers, featuring leaders in our community whose positive influence is bringing energy, growth, and vitality to Mercer County. Presented by YourTownTube.com, FitFeb and WellTube, and Stimulus Brand.
Welcome, Mercer County. Welcome to the set of Mercer Influencers. Today we have a special guest, Merodie Hancock, president of Thomas Edison State University. Welcome, Merodie. Thank you for coming to the show.
Glad to be here.
Well, Merodie, we've been talking for a while, and it's great to have you here on the show. And I wanted to ask a little bit about, I read once that you said that education is the gateway to personal and professional growth, and you represent an organization that's keyed into that. But I'm interested in asking you about sharing your own path in your educational life.
Certainly, that seems like a great place to start. Probably like a lot of people, I was traditionally educated, went to a small women's college, on to a small graduate school. I graduated quite young. I had my MBA at 21. And then went out, married a military man, and I will say you marry into the military. If folks don't, you don't just marry the person. And so we were transferring around, and my MBA was in finance, thought that was the place I was going to go. And then I had the opportunity to start teaching on a military base, which was a whole different experience for me because everything I had done had been, like I said, I was very traditionally educated, went through as a full-time student, and suddenly I was teaching economics to these service members who were living the world. And education just became alive for me in a whole different way. And I remember probably one of the most poignant memories in that was one of the early classes, and this was back in the day, I don't want to age myself, but back in the day when we lived and died by the Phillips curve. And if there are economists in the room, they know we don't quite live and die by that anymore. But I was explaining unemployment, inflation, and the inverse relationship between the two. Well, I was doing it to a whole lot of people who'd lived through stagflation and had lived through, and they understood that unemployment and inflation were not always neatly correlated. And they called me out on it. And I laugh and say, yeah, two things. I was never so unprepared to teach again, and I was hooked. I thought, this is so fun, having a class full of students who have experienced the world, who are giving up their very precious free time to go to school. And I started thinking about education a whole different way, and not as something that's obviously the next step in a pathway, but something that becomes just a huge opportunity. And when people come at it with experience, it's a whole different thing.
And coming at it as adults, as you described, these were not kids in school on the base. They were adults, so they had professional or jobs, or they themselves were the family member of a spouse who was part of the military.
Exactly. So they had, they'd served overseas. They had been deployed. They were also contractors and family members as well. They had families they were trying to care for. I will say the other thing that it did is it put a little bit different onus of responsibility. When you have students who, I always say our adult students, there's the difference between adult students and traditional students. Adult students come from all over the place. So they're not a relatively homogenous group of 18-year-olds coming in. They're from everywhere. But the one thing they have in common is they're using their hard-earned money and their really precious time to go to school. And so you better make it worth their while. They're tough customers. They take school very, very seriously. They're looking for value add with every hour they put in. So it also raised the bar on who you're educating. You have to come really prepared to teach that class.
Well, and as the teacher of that class, as the educator, you were also a spouse, you became a mother, so you had these other roles in your life. How did you balance that sort of professional path along with the personal paths?
Well, ironically, at the same time as I was teaching, and I had my MBA at the time, I decided to go back to school for my doctorate degree. And so
you didn't have enough.
I didn't have enough going on. So with a spouse who was largely deployed, I was having children during that time, and I was going back into a PhD program that was very traditional, and I was working it as well. I got to see life from my students' eyes. It was a fantastic opportunity because I got to realize how hard it was to make all of this balance and work. And I started to realize little tweaks that could be made that would just make it easier for that non-traditional student like I was. So it became almost, I felt like I was like in a living learning lab so much, because I'd be in class and I'd realize what worked or what didn't work. And I'd take it, at that point I'd also started being an administrator for Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. And so I'd take it back and I'd say, how do we do this? Are we sure we're addressing these needs? And so we'd build it in and we'd keep learning on what works, what doesn't work. I will say it also gave me a certain empathy. It made me realize that, that when people are trying to balance everything, sometimes you got to be willing to be flexible.
Right.
And education back in those days was not particularly flexible. And now, luckily, places like Thomas Edison, it is.
And it is more so because you've been there now since 2018. But you mentioned that you went back when you were at Embry.
Embry-Riddle.
Embry-Riddle. And you collaborated with others in the administration level to say, how do we make this more practical in a classroom environment? But then your administrative experience expanded. Where did that lead you next?
It did. After Embry-Riddle, I moved on to what was then University of Maryland University College. It's now Global Campus, another large military non-traditional institution. And there's a host of these institutions that were founded in the 70s. It's almost a little family. There was a movement in the 70s toward what's called andragogy and the study of adult learning, as opposed to pedagogy, which is a more traditional study of learning. So UMUC was certainly one of those, and there I continued to grow and learn. They had global operations around the world, and so my job took me to Japan, to Germany, to the DC area, in how you provide education to meet the needs of service members. I started dealing with different countries and understanding the nuances and cultures of different countries and how those can play in and either work or contrast with the norms of traditional U.S. higher education. Then from there, I got the opportunity to go to Central Michigan University out in Mount Pleasant, Michigan, which is another campus that had a large military, non-traditional, innovative arm. And I led their global campus. The one thing I historically throughout my career, I've never dealt in the same countries. So I've never had that great opportunity of a learning curve, I think. So the countries I dealt with UMUC, it was different countries when I did the global campus with Central Michigan University. From there, I was selected as the president of Empire State College up in Saratoga Springs, New York. One of the SUNY schools. They also had an international footprint, which of course was yet different set of countries.
The globalization of merodie hancock.
So there is no learning curve. That's everything starting over in each country you work with, but a lot of fun. And I served as president there for 5 years until the opportunity for Thomas Edison came knocking on my door.
And Thomas Edison was appealing. Why? Why Thomas Edison?
Like I said, it's a small family. These schools are, Thomas Edison and Empire State College were founded within a year of each other. They do a lot of collaboration. I was familiar with Thomas Edison. And while their style of doing it was a little bit different, each school had a little bit different take, I was really passionate about their commitment to evaluation of learning. And it seemed like the next kind of challenge to take, the next thing to do. I will say it's a little bit coming home. I've moved a lot in my professional life, but my parents, I tease a little bit. My mother married my father who raised me when I was about 6. He was retired military. My mother is the daughter of a Pan Am pilot. And so I think wanderlust was in their in their blood, so we would move quite a bit.
Right.
But I did spend a fair amount of my childhood in Burlington and Bucks County. So
Your grandfather was in Bucks County?
my grandfather was in Bucks County, yes. He actually was, he moved there in the early 1900s. So I did listen to you interview Aubrey Haynes, and I realized I've got a couple hundred years short of his legacy in the area. so appallingly short time, but he moved in the early 1900s, bought a place called Hard Times Inn off of River and Cuddalassa Road over in Bucks County, Lumberville. And he was a painter, in the Pennsylvania Impressionist painter. And he took a tremendous interest in the preservation of the Delaware Valley. So it's actually kind of neat. I was looking at a newspaper headline from the Trenton Times, I think at the time, almost 70 years ago today, where they did a piece on him, kind of long piece on him and his work in trying to preserve the Delaware Valley, both on the New Jersey and the Pennsylvania side. And I received an email a couple months ago from a woman who said, I credit your grandfather with keeping the highway off the Pennsylvania side of the river. And I kind of, to myself, thought, well, I wish he would have come to the New Jersey side, because I really prefer we didn't have it on the New Jersey side of the river. But he was very active. So I'd spend my summers on the Delaware River. And
so this area has an element of home because you have these preceding generations that were part of this.
I do, yes.
Well, it's a wonderful place for us all, and I'm so happy to have you here today. We're going to take a short break for a message from Tom McManaman at Stimulus Brands. We'll be back after a break.
How do you bomb-proof your online image? In terms of your online image, which sadly is a very real image platform, know it's much easier to take a preventative approach than to wait until disaster strikes. Avoid controversy or your own character assassination in what you like, share, or choose to post. Every professional now understands that you can't have a keg party or flashy pictures on your online profile. But it's not just the presence of bad things that's a problem. It's also the absence of good things. Today, everyone is judged by their online presence. And what does that say about you? As long as you're creating content that is targeted and professional, you can even bring a personal element into it. However you choose to do it, you want your online presence to show you're mature and professional, and be true to your brand. Those who utilize social media positively are well prepared for opportunity when it comes knocking. Learn more at stimulusbrand.com.
Need a new adventure? How about a riverside walk? Or a catch in the park? Or maybe something closer to nature? To bring you and the people you love closer together. Come visit us again soon. We've missed you. Mercer County is open for business.
Local influencers is powerful.
Mercer Local Influencers, sharing is caring.
Mercer Local Influencers, it's powerful.
Mercer Local Influencers, sharing is caring.
Mercer Influencers, sharing is caring.
Mercer Local Influencers, sharing is caring.
Princeton Local Mercer Influencers, sharing is caring.
Mercer County, New Jersey has something for everyone. Discover our vibrant arts and culture, savor our delicious local flavors, walk in the footsteps of history, or enjoy our wide open spaces. Dynamic destinations await you at mercercounty.org/explore.
At Thomas Edison State University, we acknowledge that learning can happen anywhere, from the workplace to apprenticeships to corporate training, as well as in the classroom. In 1972, the dreams of a college degree were almost exclusively relegated to young, full-time students on a college campus. At Thomas Edison State University, our mission since the beginning has been clear: to serve adults with higher education options on their time and at their location. We've delivered courses by mail, on VHS, on public broadcasting, and on a USB flash drive. We've accepted homework completed on a submerged submarine. We've served students in their living rooms, and in return, our students have served others in remote areas of the world. Today, Thomas Edison State University has grown from offering just one associate's degree to more than 100 areas of study at the associate's, bachelor's, master's, and doctoral level. Grown from 70 graduates to more than 60,000. Grown from one small office to a state-of-the-art campus in Trenton, New Jersey. We've spent 50 years developing and perfecting a distance learning approach that combines serious academics with a nurturing, flexible environment and a unique mentoring program that keeps our adult students on track and respects the knowledge they bring to the coursework. Our students are driving the economy across New Jersey and beyond, applying their knowledge the very next day after learning it. We are innovating every day to partner with our students in their careers and help them achieve professional success. We are a university that has challenged and changed the structures of higher education to better serve our learners. With new and innovative approaches, the university is focused on responding to the needs of working adults and their employers and ensuring that the impact of a TESU degree extends into our communities.
We're back on the set here with our guest, Merodie Hancock. Merodie is the president of Thomas Edison State University. And Merodie, we were talking earlier about your journey here, but you arrived in 2018, pre-pandemic, and I've heard you say that industry alignment is a core element of what Thomas Edison State University is about. Could you explain a little bit about industry alignment?
Certainly. Thomas Edison, it's in our DNA. There's two things that are in our DNA: assessment and industry alignment. Because our students are largely older, they're working professionals, they're very motivated. They want degrees that align today with what they're doing on the job. I always say for us, we have a little bit higher standard because our students aren't waiting 4 years to apply their knowledge. Our students are taking what they learn in the classroom the next day. And so it has to be very in tune with what's going on with industry. We have to make sure they're getting the skills they need, not just today, but that we're predicting a little bit into the future. And so to do that, we have to align with industry at every step of the way. We use subject matter experts, academics, and practitioners. We bring them together when we design courses, when we design programs, when we evaluate our learning. Everything is around what skills do our students need to succeed. And on the flip side of that, the other thing Thomas Edison does, I think a lot of people aren't aware of, is I'm using this, you've heard the term some college, no degree. That's what people come to college and they drop out and they never get the degree. But there's also this huge group of people that I'm calling no college, some degree. And those are people who've had formal learning on the workplace. And most of us, you get a little life under your belt and you realize experience is one heck of a teacher. So a lot of our students go through formal apprenticeships, especially with the trades. They go through different types of learning. And we work with industry, we work with the trades, we work with different organizations to evaluate their learning. So actually, I guess at that point they're workers, they're earners, but they're also learners. And they have a transcript that they don't even know they have. So we partner with them in two ways. We partner in designing and we partner in evaluating.
And the courses and the interaction with industry can run from the person who's welding to the person who's in the executive suite.
Absolutely, and we get everybody. We have in all of our programs, we have associate through doctorate. All of them are, I say, pretty much professionally aligned. That's the core theme on ours, with a strong liberal arts core, but the fields are professionally aligned. And we do. Probably all of our students are very purposeful, as I said before. They all know they want this degree. We get people who've, made their career, and this is something they've just always wanted to do. We get people who want to change careers.
Right.
We get the mix, but a lot of experience in our classes.
Well, and Thomas Edison was just recognized as one of the top 5 online college or university programs. So congratulations on that recognition. But it's not something new. This existed pre-COVID. And I think many people have this picture of a state university as buildings, campus, classrooms, and what you've described is anything but that. I think one of your only programs that's in the classroom is the nursing program, I'll say.
Exactly, yes. Nursing is our one on-campus program. Everything else is online. And we call it more of a digital learning experience because for Thomas Edison, we take content and knowledge from everywhere. And in today's world, we're finding ourselves increasingly moving away from static textbooks and having to look at what's on the web and what's out there and what are the resources available at any given time. So yeah, we've been doing it a long time. We have a very large investment in development of courses. We put a tremendous amount of work into them, in the content, in the digital services, and the way we assess, so that different types of learners can prove their knowledge in different ways. Whereas some schools make their investment in facilities and gyms and dorms and those type of things, we make ours into course development and making sure it's a really rich learning environment.
And your students are often looking at the expense associated with degrees and saying, look, I want to do this not only to balance my time and to enhance my work life, but also want to do it on a budget. So there's a collaborative effort between the employer and the learner, the student, to, hey, keep this on real time at a real expense.
There is, and a couple things come. One of the, where I talked about evaluating that credit, last year we brought in 66,000 credits, for students brought in 66,000 credits that they'd received on the job. If you equate that to tuition, that's $25 million in tuition dollars that they didn't have to spend. Now you'll hear me say it's $25 million in tuition dollars the university also did not get, but that's what we were founded for. That's our mission. The other neat thing about it, and we recently had our gala and we honored 2 long-term partners, ETS and UPS. And UPS, one of their students spoke, who's done very well at UPS. And it was really, really touching to hear him speak about the partnership between UPS and Thomas Edison and how to make this work where he could be so strong on his job, so strong of a father and for his family, and so strongly involved with his academics. And that takes that industry partnership. That takes that collaboration to say, how are we going to do this?
Well, and that's a collaboration that it sounds like in your life you experienced early on and wanted to enhance. So this seems like an ideal role for you at Thomas Edison. But it's not the only role that you have in the area. You've told me that you're also working on a number of boards, but one in particular, the Court-Appointed Special Advocacy Program, CASA?
Yes.
Did I get that right?
You did get CASA right. And unlike... I'm a proud member of several boards, but CASA, I took a different role. CASA, I'm a volunteer, so our court-appointed special advocate. The CASA is for folks who don't know, and I may not get the history exactly right, but the idea is being the eyes and the ears of the judge in a children's life who's in the foster system. So there's a couple of neat things about a CASA is it sticks with the child the whole time. Caseworkers can change, other appointed people can change, but CASA of Mercer and Burlington County, who I'll put just a shameless plug out for, and they're looking for more volunteers, they commit you to the child, so you don't leave. The child knows you're going to be there. And you're really interested in what's in the best interest of the child. So I've had a couple children now. I've had a newborn.
Wow.
And I have an older young lady now who I've been with for several years. I've done everything from speak to doctors. I've spent the day at a community college, integrating their interests, showing them around and meeting with personnel and staff and trying to help them learn about that. You go to court, obviously, when they're there to speak, to fill in if you think something's missing. And I've learned so much. I have learned so much, and I've had people ask, you know, how can you do that? And I have to tell you, it's heartbreaking in some cases, but it's less heartbreaking than it is inspirational. I've met, the children are wonderful. I've seen parents really rally and step up and just be tremendous people and tremendous parents. I've seen, you know, folks who work within the system with huge caseloads just bend over backwards for these children. So it's, it can be heartbreaking on one front, but feeling like you're, you know, however small of a little piece in that cog helping it go is a nice piece.
And you said, you know, how can you do that and balance the other things in your life? But maybe the question is, how can you not do that if you've gotten to know it? It sounds like a wonderful opportunity to, again, make accessible a number of opportunities, not just learning opportunities for families, because you mentioned parents are involved with that child through the court. But make those opportunities available to them. How? What's next for you in that work? Are you going to just continue with the 2, or are you going to take on 20?
Well, you only have one at a time.
Okay, great.
No, they only have one at a time. So that's the other piece about it. And I have to say, you know, the children, you know, my current CASA, when she realized that 1, I'm a volunteer, and 2, I only have her. And you know, I remember her just saying, you know, you prioritize me. It's like, yes, I do. You are, you know, that's where I'm focused. And CASA's very purposeful in setting that up. You know, I benefit from their knowledge that they have. And, you know, I've been with my current CASA for several years, and I'm, you know, even after she's out of the system, I've told her I'm not going anywhere. You know, you're stuck with me forever.
Well, I hope we can say the same about your work at Thomas Edison and your role there. It's a wonderful organization as I've gotten to know it, and we've learned more about it today than I had prior. So invite our audience to consider doing some researching about Thomas Edison State University, because we all know adult learners, or we ourselves want to improve. So Merodie, thank you so much for coming in today, for taking time out of your busy schedule, because I know you've got a lot going on, and telling us a little bit more about the organization and your role there. Great. Really appreciate you being here.
Thank you very much. Always happy to brag on Thomas Edison and CASA.
In 1972, the dreams of a college degree were almost exclusively relegated to young, full-time students on a college campus. At Thomas Edison State University, our mission since the beginning has been clear: to serve adults with higher education options on their time and at their location. In our 50 years of growth and continuous innovation, we've delivered courses by mail, on VHS, on public broadcasting, and on a USB flash drive. We've accepted homework completed on a submerged submarine. We've served students in their living rooms, and in return, our students have served others in remote areas of the world. When Thomas Edison first opened its doors, allowing transfer credit in higher education was almost unheard of. We encouraged it. We pioneered prior learning assessment, allowing students to demonstrate what they've learned outside the classroom. Many can receive credit for training that occurs at their work or apprenticeships with our professional learning review. Today, Thomas Edison State University has grown from offering just one associate's degree to more than 100 areas of study at the associate's, bachelor's, master's, and doctoral level. Grown from 70 graduates to more than 60,000. Grown from one small office to a state-of-the-art campus in Trenton, New Jersey. And grown from 0 scholarships to giving more than $415,000 per year.